Well, hello, you guys. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. I know I'm on a little late today, but hey, it's just life. Live with it. It's not like I'm hurting you. Um, there's been a little controversy going on in Roseburg at the high school. A young man who identifies as a woman wanted to use the female locker room, and that, as many could guess, set parents off, and the girls were very upset. And then you have the school board, and they have to make these decisions. Yet there are laws. And so Steve Hamerson was nice enough. He's a board member on the Roseburg School District, and he was nice enough to send me a note, give me a chance, and correct me a little bit. And I got to apologize a little bit. And then we decided, well, why don't we just bring you on here and have a conversation, and you can kind of tell people what's going on and give them an idea of what the battles that you're up against. Because for Roseburg, I mean, and I shouldn't say this, I guess, but it's too late. I'm going to say it. In a place like Eugene, you have a lot of all liberal board members. So there's a reason some of us get like you walk away and go, what is going on here? But Roseburg is a little more balanced down there. And so I really wanted Steve to come on and give us an opportunity to talk with him a little bit. Steve, so thanks for taking the time and jumping into the hot seat, even though it's not going to be that hot. It'll just be lukewarm. But we could get some comments from people, and that's fine. So when you first got wind of this, a young man who identifies, obviously is a student, so we have to treat him with respect as well, and should and will. But he wants to use the women's locker room. And what goes through your mind as a board member?
So I should probably preface this with, there's been 6 state laws or ORSs, Oregon Revised Statutes, that have been passed in the past since 2007, essentially. And the most applicable one, ORS 659A.403, prohibits discrimination in public accommodations based on a person's gender identity. So, this situation has been happening for some time. Really, sometimes you don't even know if the student is, what gender they are. So, like, let me explain. So, like,
Okay.
in a transfer student, right? Transfer student comes in, female name, listed as female. I'm sure it would be like HIPAA violations, or far worse if we were to go around and like intrusively check which students, which
Right.
gender. So I do have to preface, kind of like, it's happening all across the state, not specific to Roseburg. Everywhere in Oregon this is happening.
Because isn't there a lawsuit right now in Forest Grove involving 3 students you were telling me about?
Right. So similar subject matter, different issues. So it also is the transgender situation, but this one, it's biological boys competing in girls sports. So
Okay.
there's 3 athletes, and then, like, I think it's called America First something. It's a 501c that are bringing the lawsuit. Students against ODE, probably the district, and OSAA. And there's federal investigators from the Trump administration that are tracking this, or following on this case, keeping tabs on it. So,
Well, I understand the Trump administration was watching you guys as well.
I don't know about that. I've had a couple House representatives reach out to me, wanting me to reach out, to other people. I haven't made those contacts yet, so I'm not sure quite where that's going to go. Honestly, the main complaint is this is a Title IX violation, right? Which I agree with. But the thing is, federal interpretation of Title IX right now, in my personal opinion, is kind of a mutated version of what Title IX was intended. So the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is kind of the first, like, origin document, essentially saying, it outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and or national origin in employment and public accommodations, right? So the state has kind of mutated that interpretation for sex, which should be boy, girl, women being the protected class. They've kind of mutated it into, gender identity and LGBT stuff that's, listed. That's not supposed to be part of the act, but they've successfully um, mutated it. So in 2020, in the Dallas court district, or Dallas school district court case, same exact issue, flipped on the sex, but same exact issue. They took that to court, went to the Ninth Circuit, and they listed in the court decision like 4 or 5 times, this is not a violation of Title IX. This is not a violation of Title IX, like over and over and over again in the court decision. And then the Biden administration was like, yeah, cool, we're good with that decision. We're not touching that. Trump administration is not acting that way. They're like, we're keeping tabs on this. Once it goes through its natural process, they're probably going to grab on. And I'll admit, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, right? But probably 3-4 years ago, when you see the bus, flying off the cliff, flaming, and all this horrible stuff happening in this state, you start to go, I need to take action. I need to do something.
Is that why you got on the board? Is that why you got on the school board?
Yeah, it was really social media. We were seeing all these, like on Facebook and different social media platforms, all these school board meetings. And you just start going, what's going on in public school? What's this in public school? Like, what are these parents talking about? And they're coming in fired up. It's either gender issues or it's, race baiting stuff. Just, all this stuff where I'm just like, whoa, man, our school system is in dire straits right now. But so I ran, funded my campaign, ran against 4 different people. One of them was a liberal school director that had been with the district for over 2 decades. It wasn't an easy race, but, got the campaign signs out, got, some vetting from a couple of different 501Cs and, ran and won. Pretty close. I think I only won by 400 votes.
I'm sure that the lucrative pay is part of what drew you in. Right?
No.
Actually, and this, Steve, and I think a lot of people don't, is being on the school board and the city council and local positions like that is far more powerful than being a state senator or even a national senator. I mean, that's where you really make changes in the community, or at least you used to be able to make changes in the community. And I want to get into that a little bit about how Kate Brown changed the law so that she's now or the governor's now sort of your boss. But let's get it.
I did some more research and I failed you again. I gave you bad information. So it was 2011. I think it was Kitzhaber who changed. Oregon's the only state in the United States where the superintendent is essentially the master and controller, the captain of the ship, the pirate of the ship, the captain of the ship, for public schools in the state. Oregon's the only state that's like that, but it was 2011. So I think it was probably Kitzhaber.
So they changed it to make it so that the governor has more power over you. Is that over the school, over the superintendent?
No, it's kind of weird. It's more like they set policy and direction. They basically the governor has control over, this is supposed to be an elected position, right? The position of being the superintendent of all the superintendents is supposed to be an elected position.
Oh, you're talking about state school superintendent.
Yeah. So now it's like this warped thing where Tina Kotek will find, whatever Warhammer she wants, on her side of the fence, appoint them, and then this is how you're directing state level ODE. So,
thanks, Matt, for finding that. I appreciate that. You put it on there. I'm gonna leave it up there for a minute so people can read that. So, so to talk to me, Steve, about where are we? The young man who identifies as a woman is he and his family are no longer pushing this issue. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can't speak from my communication with administration with the school, but people in the community have communicated that to me. I know you talked to Shannon previously. I talked to Shannon a couple days ago. I'm pretty sure during that conversation, she said that's where we're at with this.
So what happens in the terms of the district then? I mean, what do you do? So you have a young man, a biological male who identifies as a female. Do you already have private restrooms or locker rooms facility type thing that he can use?
So yeah, the issue doesn't go away, even though, and I want to state this because it's important. It seems like whenever there is a situation like this, if there's actual care and concern for the student, there's a reasonable um, compromise that happens, right?
Right.
So, what I saw in a couple other school districts is something like this will happen, and then it's like nope, you like they're like the parents or the families like forcing the school district to follow state law, and like once that happens, you're just like, okay, this is like some kind of political propaganda. They're either in this for money or to make a statement. There's no care and concern for the child in the situation, right? So I mean, that's kind of I don't think there was kind of an understanding of what direction this was going. And then I think once there was an understanding, then there was a reasonable compromise. And, and I think this happens in school districts all across the state. I think there's situations where special accommodations are made because it's like, hey, this is like a contentious problem. There and for me personally, it's like this happened to somebody I love, like in my family, right? To the point where I was just like, this needs to be like, I need to deal with this, like in a bad way. So it's like this, and I said in my board director report at the end of that meeting where all the parents spoke out, this strikes a chord with me. This is personal with me,
Why? So why is
but
it? So Steve, why is it personal? I don't know. I'm not understanding. And real quick, before I get
um,
too far, I have a
yeah,
comment from Jeannie. She says the superintendent is chosen by the school board, not elected. We know that. Both of us know
yep,
that, Jeannie. It
yep.
just sounded what he was saying was that the state school superintendent was elected and used to be elected.
Yeah,
That's
it's like the superintendent of all superintendents,
yeah,
like
that's the
the
state school superintendent. So
master. Yeah.
let's go back to you. So why was this person? But now you're talking about this case with this young man and your girl. So what was that? What was
No, no, no.
personal?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. No, we have a miscommunication dynamic with us. So, or I'm just not explaining it properly. It
No,
was just,
this is a conversation, Steve. This is how we do it. This is how
yeah,
I
yeah,
just when you say something, I'm trying to clear it up so that people don't get, coming in and saying things like that. So
yeah. Perfect.
what was personal for you?
It was a family member and this happened years ago, probably 6 years ago. A family member that knew somebody, and the certain somebody just decided one day they were the opposite gender, and she was in a place where she should have been a sacred space for her to deal with woman things, and dudes rolling in, and it's like it happens. And then I know the person, I've known the person for a while, and I mean, if that happens to somebody in your inner onion layer in your personal life, and the person, and then the person flips one day and then goes into that space, it's very difficult to deal with that on the fly. It was like very, very difficult. So
So you understood what the family was going through.
yeah, yeah. And that's why I kind of touched on it. I didn't want to get too deep into it, because it's upsetting to even talk about. But I just wanted them to know, like, we're taking this seriously, and we are taking it seriously. So 2 days after the board meeting, at the board meeting itself, I said, I'm not trying to create like a vote or anything here, but I think that we need to be physically in the high school in those spaces like immediately, and we need to what it's called is a learning walk. So we do this with all of we have 11 buildings, 12, but one of them is kind of decommissioned, uh, in Roseburg School District. We do learning walks because you have to be careful with quorum. You can't make any decisions.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
you know,
I get what you're saying.
yeah. So it's just informative, and we just walk the property, and then we look at everything, take notes, and then later on we go, okay, hierarchy of things, projects that we need to work on, things that we need to look at, in the district. So we basically did that again. We were in Roseburg High School 2 days after the board meeting, and my personal opinion, and this is just me, and we'll see where it goes. I can't tell you where it's going to go. I think that we could fairly reasonably have 9 changing, like it's like a stall, like a bathroom stall.
Okay.
Like we could do like 9 of those in the girls' locker room, so that girl goes into the locker room, doesn't want to change in front of anybody. Boom, you're in one of those stalls, get changed, get out of the stall, good to go. And then the showers, I don't even think nowadays it's like these showers were built back in I don't know, like probably before I was born. But it's like like you turn the thing and it's like sprays way too hard, and it's just like set up like this dark tiled room, from back in the '60s or something. I don't know.
So
But
how
I
much
was
does
basically
that
like,
how much does that cost the district though to come in and I think that's what that's what and I'm playing devil's advocate here, but that's what some of the parents were just like, this is one child who we have, legally we need to accommodate for, but even just out of respect, they're going through some stuff and but do you redo a whole locker room because of one person's stuff? I mean, if somebody, if somebody else came in um, with, that was, say it's a kid who's afraid to get dressed in front of other people. Do we create a whole locker room for him? I mean, that question is out there, and I know I'll get slammed for that. And real quick, Steve, just for you,
it's a good question.
Rich Bachelor, you're calling me a grifter, and I have a new grift. Um, I would just real politely say, "Go to hell." Okay, let's continue that conversation now. We get trolls on here like that, but I don't like to let people get away with being mean and rude. And it's
Yeah.
like, just because you disagree with me that I'm wrong, it's just like, go to hell.
Yeah. No, no, your question's a good one. It's are we being good stewards of public tax dollars, or public funds, right?
Right.
um I mean, I'm probably biased on this one. I think we are. I think, whether it cost us 60, 100 grand, whatever, um, that's money well spent if there are girls on our campus that feel violated. To me, I don't put a price on that. Like,
Right.
if there are girls in my school district that feel like their privacy is being breached and their sacred spaces are being violated, that needs to be fixed ASAP. But I mean, what I was going to finish with is we could probably do 4 closed in areas for showers too. But honestly, I don't even know if students shower in high schools anymore. I remember when I went to high school,
You had to.
um, I would for swimming. I captained our swim team and I played water polo at Sunset High School, and we you kind of have to shower after you get out of the pool. But I most of the kids left their speedos on and just
Yeah.
like rinsed off and left. So, but I'm a man. I don't know how it works on the girl side.
So at this point, what the boards are, you're looking at ways you can alleviate this problem, not only just to help this kid and the girls, but also for the future, is because this is probably the way this is trending. It's probably going to come up more, and it's something you really do kind of have to look at.
Yeah, even though there was what appears to be a reasonable solution, um, the issue, it doesn't go away. The state law doesn't change. We're still in the same situation. And I'm sure it'll pop up in some other school district. Something will happen, but I mean, you're between a rock and a hard place
Because
with stuff
people,
like.
board members can be sued. There's board members that have been sued over stuff like this, right? I mean, talk.
Yeah. So my initial reaction to this was very dumb. And I'm the chair of our policy committee, and I came in there to the district office and I was like, I'm going to institute some policy, and then I had a couple people that were like, you're pretty stupid, and then I was like, I got to figure out why I'm stupid, and so I actually talked to, I don't know if you know who Dave Brown is in Newburgh School District, fantastic dude. Um, been a coach for 37 years, 3 different maybe 4 or 5 different sports. I don't know, but just a true public servant with the attitude of being a public servant, and really, cares about the kids. But what happened with them is they had a flag ban policy that they instituted that was against state law. And he just kind of walked me through. He's like, from start to finish, this is how it goes. You institute some policy that's against state law in your district, you're going to court. Once you go to court, you're going to get smoked. After you get smoked, everything that you fought for is going to get worse. So, and it's true. He's in Newburgh School District. There's like 4 board members that were conservative, great candidates, all lost their seats in the next election. They replaced them with woke school board members. The ACLU came out, and they usually come out with a big old bag of coins, and they're like, do you have as many coins as we do? And just start laughing at everybody. And then there's AOC showed up in Newburgh. Like, what is AOC doing in Newburgh?
So, but
Um,
and I don't want to get you in trouble. So if you can't comment on this, don't, because I'm
yeah,
just going to make a comment. But what, so isn't that kind of, well, I mean, it's up to the voters to decide who's on their school board, but it's the same. It's just reverse. It's like you're discriminating against people who have different values than you are, so that you can have a school board that'll do everything you want it to do, and disregard, because I mean, you saw it. I mean, there's a ton of parents in Roseburg and all over the state who were just pissed over this because they all saw their own kid as the daughter, or, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, people said that would never happen, but what if a young man, a young woman wanted to start coming into the boys' bathroom?
well,
I wonder how quickly, how much that would stop faster, because I don't know. But I think because there's such a sexist attitude towards, there are different ways about a man coming into a girl's room. We all have an idea about that. But if a girl comes into a boy's room, it I think it would set off the same kind of firestorm, but just a different way. And it would
yeah,
show because I had people, when I said that, they'd say, "Oh, well, the boys would probably like it." I said, "I think there's a lot of boys who wouldn't really want." I remember, okay, so I'll tell you a quick little story. I went to a
yeah,
George Strait concert, and it was packed. And I'm standing in line to go to the men's bathroom, and here's 5 women in front of me. And so, I'm talking to them. I talked to everybody. I said, "What are you guys doing?" And they go, "Well, there's too many women at the other line, so we're going to go in here." I said, "Well, you can't go. You're going to the stalls." And they go, "Yeah, yeah, we're going to slip into the stalls." And I thought, okay, I've taken my wife into a restroom that way. And so but I get in there, and 2 of the women, these are urinals, one after the other, like next to each other, no divider, just a urinal. Those women walked up in a dress and lifted up their underwear and peed in the urinal, and every guy in the room was turning, like near him, was turning that like away, because it's like, this is so weird. And everybody, it was so uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable because I
yeah,
thought, here's a woman, and they were doing it because it was like, hells, we live in a world that everybody thinks they can be whatever they want to be. I need to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to go in here. I don't think they were trans or anything like that, but they actually just went in and stood and peed next to the guys in the urinal. And it
yeah.
made, I think every man in that room, nobody was sitting there going, "Hey, yeah, baby." Everybody there was quiet and looking the other way. I mean, it,
Well, if you're going to a George Strait concert, then you're probably going to have a lot of conservative males that are going also attending that concert, which means
right,
you probably have a lot of males that have morals and values that align with protecting women. Um,
right.
so
I
I
guess I
don't know
could
any
look,
man that,
that's a good
yeah,
way to look at it, Steve. I should have looked at it like, look at these guys are super respectful. And but they weren't embarrassed because their junk's there. But they were all turning, and she wasn't there to look at at the merchandise in the room or anything like that. But it was awkward and weird. And I thought, how did we get to this
yeah.
weird place? Because now
Well,
there are people who really could do that.
I think most men in life at some point go through it's a lot. The boys' restroom is a lot more effective and efficient and oiled machine, and the girls' restroom tends to take more time. And
Well,
I don't with my wife multiple times. I've been in multiple places where it's just like, she's like she needs to go to the bathroom. There's this huge line, and then the men's restroom is just completely
Well, I
bare.
know this isn't our topic, but what the hell? It's fun to talk about. It's a conversation. If we were just sitting and drinking a beer. I went to another country concert, and they had, have you ever seen these where there's outside stalls? It's like a 4-prong thing, and you belly up to the thing, and they have little dividers that come around you, and you're in broad daylight in front of all the people in the concert taking a leak. and there's a guy across from you. You can't see each other. I mean, because it's up high, but you're all in a little stall, and it's just like you're just standing there and around you, so you can't see anything of your junk, but you're standing there, and so I see this, and the women loved it because in all the outhouses that you have closed doors, you run in and they got in them because all the guys didn't have to go use that time. So you could just belly up, pee, and walk away. But I mean, of course, so my wife goes, "Oh, don't shoot a video." I said, "I have to. This is like crazy." You know, but it was
You
like
got you got you got
that
to
was
send me a picture of what
efficiency.
you're talking about. I've never even heard of this before.
Oh my, go
I
look it
grew
up.
up in
If you
I
look
grew
up,
up in Oakland, California, and we had to use at the Oakland Coliseum. We had to use the pee trough, and I was like 6 years old, and it was like my dad's like, "Yep, go pee," and I walk in, and it's a trough,
yeah,
and everybody's facing each other, and there's drunk guys
oh,
peeing on other
horrible.
people, and yeah, it's just like an instant fight. Like
Yeah.
somebody's gonna pee on somebody, and fists are gonna start getting thrown. I'm like 6. I'm like, what is it?
What
What
they
is it?
used to
I'm
have
like,
those
I
in
don't
the
have to
drive.
pee again.
That was the thing in like drive-in theaters, and there's still a bar in Montana. And I go back and you walk into the bathroom and they have it filled with ice because that helps. And you just stand there and it's like it's the weirdest thing. But I come out and my wife and I took a picture. And I go, look at this. They had one of these when I was a kid. It's horrible because you all have to stand there and then everybody gets a shy kidney and you can't pee anyway. It's not because of old age, it's because you just can't go. So we have degraded our conversation to men's
Yeah,
urinals.
yeah,
But anyway, so at this point, I'm still getting comments on here, and people frustrated. Of course, Virgil Osborne comes on and says, "Love those urinals at the country festival." See, Steve, I got backup. One of your representative, your state representative, has used the
yep,
same lavatory I did. He and I'd be
yeah.
standing there with the beer, handing each other the other. Here, take this beer. So,
Yeah, I
what
talk to
was
Virgil probably every other week.
what shocked you the most about the response, or did anything shock you about the response from the community when you heard this happen as a board member? Did you think it was going to get? Because you took some heat just because you're a board member. Nobody knew what you thought, but you took some heat because you're a board member.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Roseburg is like too big to be rural and too small to be a city. It's kind of a weird spot where we're just kind of, I don't know, teetering between an actual city and rural Oregon. So um, I mean, we've done a lot of stuff out here in the past couple of years in terms of politics, board races, Senate races, statewide ballot petitions, and I've met a lot of people. There's a very wide spectrum of people out here. In downtown Roseburg, there's some pretty liberal groups of people, and then you just can go 2 miles out of town and you can find some very, very backwoods, borderline racist people, full-on racist people. I mean, it's the spectrum is pretty insane, but
Right.
it's very, very conservative. Um, you know, all of our senator, our House representatives, our commissioners, they're all at least listed as Republican. But it's I would expect this kind of response from this type of situation for sure. Um,
And so
just
what do you
because of
tell
the
people? How do you assure them what you're doing? And I mean, I'll give you a second just to go ahead and do that if you want to, just to tell people that are watching and, because it's not often. I mean, people can go to school board meetings, which they should do more often because
yeah
it's always and I don't mean this as a cut, but what people don't understand is it's always the more liberal people that go to the school board meetings. So then it sounds like everybody in town wants this to happen. More conservative people are staying home and not going as much. So it does behoove people. But what would you say if somebody came up to you as a citizen or, who you represent on the school board and says, what are you doing about this situation? What are you doing, Steve?
Yeah, and we've had a lot of those situations, and I encourage if students feel that something's wrong is happening at Roseburg School District or Roseburg High School, I encourage them to be vocal about it, to express their First Amendment rights. If a parent has an issue and they want the school board to know about it, I encourage them to show up at public participation. This is the reason that I ran for this spot. This is the reason that I'm a board director. And, I have this communication with other board directors, with people in the community, with the administration in our school district. we are the connection to the community. And if there is a problem, if there's anything going on, and they want to express their concern, show up to the board meeting. You got 3 minutes, plan out your 3-minute speech, whatever you want to say. A lot of times, if it's an issue where I'm like, we need to do something about this, or even if it's just an emotionally charged issue, I'll always say, I'll say after the board meeting, and I'll talk to you, and here's my email, and if you need to contact anybody else in the district. But if there's issues, there is chain of command. So like if you have an issue with a teacher, some situation happens, first you go to the teacher. If that doesn't get resolved, then it goes to the principal. If that doesn't get resolved, then it goes to the superintendent. And our superintendent is fantastic. He is
People, I hear that from, I mean, even
great,
people who are mad at the school district, they
yeah.
say great things about your superintendent. I mean,
Jared Corden is and I don't even need to meet the rest of the superintendents in the state. He is the best superintendent in the state. I can tell you that. And the reason that he's the best is because he lives his job. This is one of those jobs where you have to be there for everything. You have to be there to respond to board directors, parents, administration. He works on the weekend. I could text him late at night on a Saturday, and he's texting me back like 2-3 minutes later about whatever issue. I finally gotten to the point where I feel bad, because I'll just like, something will come up and I'm like, we need to, discuss this. And I'll send him a text, and then he sends me back. And then I realize when I texted him, what time frame I texted him. But it's for him, it's the school district is his baby. And he is always there 24/7, responding to whatever's going on in the school district. I think that in Georgia, there was a school district that was fudging the numbers, actually changing Scantron test scores to try to meet some quotas in that school district. There are school districts that are run by evil people that do bad things and don't care about the kids actually learning. This is the opposite. Roseburg School District, it's all focused on phonics, getting these kids to read at an early age. Reading's key, because once you can read, then your math, your science, all the other departments start to fall in line.
So do you think that Oregon should bring local control? Because the school boards have some local control, but it's all centered through the state, and the state does fudge on the numbers. And the states, when you're paying $10,000 per student in Oregon, and you're number 48th or 45th or however low, Mississippi is doing better than Oregon in educating kids and spending far less, like $5,000 a student.
They're also top 10 in election integrity. If you want to go to heritage.org, I'll vet me on that.
I think that's where, if we had local control, if the school board used to be, kind of the last line of defense and the superintendent is hired by the school board. But now a lot of your power has been taken away, and the state tells everybody what to do. Real quick before you answer that.
Oh yeah.
Rebecca, I don't know how, Rebecca, whatever your name is, you're taking what Steve said too literally. He said borderline backwoods, to show the gamut of people. You can go to any community, even Eugene, Oregon, where the liberal haven of the world, and you will find backwoods and rednecks and people who are racist. That's what, I'm sorry, Steve, I'm not trying to speak for you, but I am. That's what he meant. And come on, we're having a conversation. What bothers me about that, Rebecca, is we're having a conversation and you're nitpicking. And so Steve has agreed to come on here and talk openly with people, and you're nitpicking and say, change your words, not cool. Well, you know what? Change your attitude, because yours isn't cool. And I don't like people shutting up conversation over mincing words and trying to shove words down their face because it didn't fit right with you. And I'm sorry if I'm being hard for you. You're okay. Thank you for the clarification. You're welcome. And I'm sorry I'm a little harsh with you. But you know what? As people, I was telling Steve, I had a post where I came home from Montana and we had a blanket of snow on the ground, and it was so pretty. And I put in the post, we had this beautiful blanket, thank you, God, and it was white. Somebody wrote on my page that, of course you would say that, basically assuming I'm racist because I only like white snow. Well, I will confess here to everyone in my audience, I'm not a fan of brown snow, because that usually means it's dirty, wet, mucky snow. but it had nothing to do with race and the blanket of snow. It's like to people like that, and I'm sorry, kids, plug your ears, but I just want to say, fuck you. You know, it's like you can't make everything a controversy.
Well,
You can, but you know
don't
what?
even get
I
into
can
yellow
tell you to
snow.
shut the fuck up. There, now I just ruined it for all your families who want to show their kids what the board had to say. But you can't listen to Mr. Dancer at what is it, 35. When you get to 35, get the kids busy and turn down the sound, then you can turn it back up you want.
It's when the wheels fall off.
Yeah, that's right. So Steve, anyway, you can I don't know what
So
I was asking.
local controls the question, right?
Yeah.
So what's your interpretation of local control? I guess that's the question.
Oh, that's a good
Because local control for us doesn't have to do with, tyrannical state law. I mean, if we have any kind of law that's like, forcing our hand to, do what the state law says, we have no control over that. Well, what we do have control over, and I do want to convey this is very important. And I've been preaching this to a lot of groups. There's a lady, Tracy Sullivan, does Save Our Schools locally. And there's a lot of these groups like this that Moms for Liberty. A lady named Janae Trimble is I think the chair of that our local chapter. There's a lot of groups that they want us to make the situation right, even though like we literally can't. But I've communicated to these groups. There's two key concepts here. One is you need to make sure that you have 4 majority, right? Conservative board members, right? Because then they can take action on a majority scale. And you need a conservative superintendent that's going to implement conservative values to kind of membrane us away from the stuff that's coming in Portland. But generally, on average speaking, we have about 20% discretion, whether it's a curriculum issue or it's a in-function issue on how we operate in the district. Like a good example is House Bill 2002 passed, right? In House Bill 2002, they basically said all your elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, you have to provide tampons to the boys' bathrooms, right? So this, and I forget what year it passed. I feel like it was like 3 or 4 years ago. But in a Portland school district, in function, the way that they'd handle this is they're going to have involved conversations with the students. This is hey little Johnny, hey little Joey, this is why this dispenser's on the wall, and let me explain to you gender dysphoria. Right?
Do they explain where to put it?
Wow, dude.
I see those in the Seattle airport in the bathroom, and
I don't know how much it costs us.
I would like to see directions, because if you're going to put this in my bathroom and you expect me to use a tampon, I want you to show me, how to use that. That is it is so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know about dysphoria and all. To me, it's like, if you have gender dysphoria, you could probably figure that out. But to put the expense of a tampon machine in a boy's bathroom, and that's what I would love to see the high schools, like, when they used to do your little sex education things. How do you explain where that goes and why it's there?
So I'll explain, because I didn't really.
Are you going to tell me where it goes?
Well, I didn't really get it, right? But what this is what the intent was when it happened was that there are biological females that identify as boys using the boys' restroom, and they're going to begin their period at some point between 5th grade and 8th grade or whatever, and they'll need to, the biological woman in the boys' bathroom needs to use the tampon dispenser, right?
But I get that, but why wouldn't, most people, especially if you're in that situation where you're a woman using a male, wouldn't you obviously, women usually carry those around for themselves. It seems like it's a virtue signaling thing. It's this thing to say, it has nothing to do with providing a service for somebody, because most women don't use those anywhere unless it's an emergency. But
there's a reasonable way this could have been handled, right?
Yeah.
You could say there's this faction of people that operate this certain way, and we can provide a special accommodation for them because of that. Instead of saying every single little boy needs
Yeah.
to ask why there's a can in the restroom that
Right.
dispenses things that ruin our sewage system in the
Right.
toilet.
Right. Put it in. You have every high school has a private bathroom. And if a girl who identifies as a boy has a problem and it's in that bathroom, she goes to that bathroom. And it's like I think that's what bothered what really hit it. And I'm gonna get myself. This is what my mother used to say when she grew up on a farm. She was a backwoods person and very proud of it. But she would say, "You're gonna get your tit in a ringer, Rick." And I think most of us know what that is. But it's like we have over accommodated for the small differences in people rather than respecting them and make something, we can make something work, but we don't need to put the entire student body, and in this case, it was one boy, all these girls on the team, and you're making them have to suffer with with the trauma of this when one
Right.
boy was causing all of that when we could have done, and this sounds like what you're doing, finding because the family's being working with you, and that's we hope. I think that's what's happening, so you can find a way to make this happen so everybody wins. But when people use this to push an agenda and they're virtue signaling, I just think it's bullshit. And I think
Yep.
I think what's really bad about it is people are done. I mean, they're just done. I saw with this case, it was so obvious that people were like, I mean, over the top done.
Right. Well, that video that you just posted a day or two ago, I think you were saying you're talking to a waitress and you're like, you're feeling the energies shifting in society and
Yeah.
things that they are kind of changing in a different direction. That doesn't matter if people don't actually take action, right?
Right.
Like you have to like be a volunteer for a statewide petition to inspire some change, or be on a court case that's going to inspire some change, or run for a position where you have some local power where you can create some change. You
Like you
have,
did.
yeah, you have to do something, and the people that I've been dealing with it's two different people, right?
Oh,
They'll
you
just
mean
point
do something besides just bitch.
Right. There's the people that'll just point their finger at you and say, "You're the highest authority in the land. Fix it. Fix it now." Right. And then
And
you say, "Well, if you want me to have a conversation with you, I can actually explain what we're up against. I could tell you, volunteer opportunities in society that you could participate in to start pushing us in the right direction. You know, shut up. You're the highest authority. Change." Then you go, "Okay, I'm not talking to this person anymore. This is a waste of
wouldn't you
time."
love to turn and you can't, and you don't
Yeah.
have to answer this. Don't say yes or no because you might get yourself in trouble. But it would be so great to say, and what are you doing? I'm giving my time to be on a school board to make sure there's fair representation here. And what are you doing?
I
And
mean, I have said that before. I mean, and if it gets me in trouble, I don't care. I mean, I have a career job. My wife has a career job. We're raising three sons. I'm a school board director. She's a transportation board director. She's chief petitioner for End Vote by Mail in Oregon. I'm one of the lead volunteers for that. We're both Republican PCPs. Like, we have a lot of hats that we're wearing, trying to fight to create change. So if somebody's going to come up to me and point at me and say, "You're the problem," I'm just going to point the finger right back and say, "If you're not doing anything, no, I'm not. You're the problem."
right. Matt Kendall, you ask a question. Board members have to claim a party. No, it's a nonpartisan. I think most school boards
Nonpartisan.
are nonpartisan, but here's the clincher. Especially Matt and Eugene, if you talk to anybody who's conservative who's run, they haven't had a conservative school board member since Jim Torrey, probably. It's a rough go in Eugene. Places like Roseburg, it's more fair, but Eugene is very, biased against anybody who claims to be conservative. Because if you're conservative, you're automatically then assumed to be a MAGA, which making America great again. I'm not sure how that's a bad thing to be, but it comes with a label. And so, yeah, we need to get past the labels, and even nonpartisan doesn't mean anything. Same with the Lane County Board of Commissioners, because I don't know if you'd want a far right. There are far right and there's far left on your school board in Eugene. I'll tell you that. And anybody who's come in that was even just, but you can't be just a right wing person in Eugene, Oregon. You are automatically, if you're right, you're far right. And that's a big chunk of, well, it's not a big chunk of Oregon, but it's the metropolitan areas. That's what it's like. Since I started talking about stuff like this, I've been hammered by people. I
Yeah.
used to like you. Yeah, I mean, it's like, but here's your point. Steve makes a really good point. If you don't, if you don't buck up, shut up, because you can't just sit around and whine all the time. And that's
Yeah.
what people in Oregon and all over the country, but you have to stand up for what you believe in. And yes, you will be made fun of. You will be picked on.
Oh, you'll
People
get
will
crucified.
yeah, they'll
Uh,
take, and it's going to get worse. It's going to
let,
get worse because you look at what's going on in our culture right now.
let me show you something that I got from actually a Republican lady when I ran for city council.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The
So,
Republicans, when I ran for Secretary of State,
yeah.
many of the Republicans were worse to me than the Democrats were, and the
Yeah.
Democrats were scared of me, but the Republicans just naysayers and nasty. I'm not a fan of either party, and people, always call me right wing. Well, you know what I am? I figured out today. I was listening to a podcast, and I figured out that I'm not a right wing, and I'm not a conservative, although I'd probably lean.
You're probably not corrupt.
Yeah,
That's probably the problem. You won't minion up to somebody
I'm
who's
a
telling you what to
populist.
do blindly. Yeah.
I think we should all be represented fairly, and then whoever has the best message wins, and
So
that
let
would
me
be
let
more
me
of
let me ask you a question. So
a go for it,
this is
Steve.
when
Now
my
you get
eyes
to interview me.
this is when my eyes opened up, right? Trump's at the RNC, right? And he basically is standing there, and I know there's a bunch of social media videos on this, but everybody's booing him. And he just stops and he addresses the elephant in the room, and he goes, you see everybody booing, everybody that's booing me. It's because I'm a not nobody bet on me. I'm not anybody's horse in this race. I'm
Right,
not
they don't own him.
I'm not being obliged to whatever big pharma, FDA, whoever's Unilever, whoever's running the show. I'm not a horse that they're betting on. So they're all booing me, and they wouldn't let my family in here because they want the boos to be louder because they want one of their horses to win. So once he said, I'm not bought and paid for, then I'm like, oh, he's a racist. He's a sexist. He's the guy that hired in the 80s. There was a racist police chief that fired a bunch of black officers in the NYPD. He had his people go out and identify all the officers that got fired, and he took the top 10 and made them his personal security team. You telling me that guy's racist?
Right.
So
Well, see,
in his first big building project, I know I'm getting off track, but
no,
the
you're
first
not.
big building project, a woman.
Right.
You're going to trust your first big building project to a
Yeah.
woman and your sex? I'm just like, come on.
But see, and I think that just shows how, I somebody was yelling at me today because I was saying how crazy the left seems to be, and they go, "You're calling him a name." No, I'm calling him a definition. I'm not calling him, a name. I'm saying it's just crazy how much they hate Donald Trump, and look what he's done in the Middle East, and they're just waiting for that to fall apart. And it's as if they really wish our country would just fall apart rather than, admit Biden was a mess. Don't say anything because you're a school board member, but Biden was a
Weekend
mess.
at Bernie's. Weekend at Bernie's.
Right. And here's things are starting to turn around. But I think I honestly, I was listening to a podcast, Steve, and I think that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a really dark tunnel. And I think it's going to get worse because I think that not the Democrats, but I think the far crazy left, and they are the far crazy left, they're waiting for a civil war, and they'll do whatever it takes to create one. And that's what they're trying to create. And so I say to all people of common sense, you do not do anything to bring that on. Let them do what they got to do. But we're going to continue to help our neighbors, love our communities, serve on school boards, make the changes where we can, and do all that kind of thing and not get wrapped up in their stuff. We have to pay attention. I think that's the big problem. My wife said today to me, I think a lot of people just get so sick of all this that they just tune it out. We can't tune it out, because if you do, this enemy will slip up on you and take you down. And, we've already seen what this evil is capable of. Murdering Charlie Kirk, trying to kill the president of the United States, putting people outside of Kavanaugh's house. The same evil kills, because evil doesn't come in Democrat or Republican. Evil's evil. It tried to killed the Minnesota senator, wasn't it a senator? Yeah, and then tried to kill two other people in the Democratic Party. So This isn't a Democrat Republican thing. This is good evil, and good does what you're doing and serves on the school board and does things. So, any last minute shot you want to throw out there? This has been really fun. I am so happy you came
Shots?
on. No, not yet. Oh yeah, sure. Take that wrong. And then Rick Dancer was promoting gun use on the
Oh,
his
man.
podcast because he said the word shot, and he obviously is a racist because he likes white snow over brown snow. It's like
Oh,
I just does snow have a sexual orientation, or maybe that's what it was.
black snow means we're all going to die, right? Isn't that like a nuke?
I don't. Now, see, you're going to get yourself in trouble because one, you're on my show. Two, now
Oh, no.
you're going to be.
I grew up in Oakland, California. I was actually a minority as a white kid in my school. And I have a lot of black friends in Vegas that if a bunch of people were saying that kind of stuff about me, they'd show up.
Right. I remember one time I had some guy come on and he goes, "You're a racist, homophobe." What was the other one? He had the whole list. And then I'm just sat there for a while, and comments started coming on from like some black friends I know, and it was like he comes on and goes, "Rick hangs out with me. I don't think he is." And a couple of my gay friends came on and said something, and then and I was also anti-disabled people, and then a bunch of people. Doesn't Rick work in the disabled community to do all this stuff? And I just went on and I went, I think I don't have to do anything. I think most of the people have said what they believe. And
it's run its course. I mean, it's the template to discredit you. Yeah. It's the guy is a racist that has Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and everybody hanging out at a party in the 80s. Like that guy's racist against black people. I mean, it's been happening for so long now, and it's so played out that I just don't. It's white noise at this point.
Lewis Hart, you wrote something on here, and I'm going to read it because I don't know you, Lewis, but you've been following me, and you write some really interesting comments, and I mean that in a good way. You're a good guy. I like who you are. But he says you can't ignore it, but you can't react with the violence that they want us to, and that's 100% true. Don't ignore it, but don't act violent. Don't respond in a way that you're gonna get blamed for starting this civil war that they're bringing on themselves. That's their goal.
So I heard this on Joe Rogan. You got to be a warrior in a garden, not a gardener in a war.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. But how could Joe Rogan say anything? Do you know that women used to be women wouldn't date a man who watched Joe Rogan? That was one of their downsides. It's funny how that's all changed too. Now all of a sudden everybody's kind of going, we don't have to love the
he couldn't even get canceled off an N-bomb compilation.
No. Well,
I was like, that one would take most people down. No. That didn't even take them down. I'm like, okay, this guy's special level communicator.
Well, you know what the truth always sets you free, and sometimes it takes a while to catch up. But I've never met anybody that told the truth that they might have had a shitty life for a while, but they always come back out on top because and the liars continue to dig a hole deeper and deeper, and that's what's so sad about it. Is they can't see that the hole they're burying themselves with the dirt as they're digging it frantically.
They have to live in a false reality.
Yeah.
They get to a point where they have to like believe the lies, or then they have to actually face the mirror.
That's what somebody said, how do these people how do you admit that, like, let's take COVID, that you called your neighbors, you called the cops on your neighbors because too many people were there. You screamed at me at the grocery store because I wasn't wearing a mask. You cheered when hospital nurses and workers and military people were fired for not getting a vaccine they didn't want to get, and you cheered them on. How do you go back and admit you were not just wrong, you were evil wrong? How do you do that? And so I get why they can't, I'm sure psychologically there's an explanation. But how do you do that? And so all these things pile up, and you fell for Joe Biden, his lies about the laptop, and you fell for the lies about Russian collusion and the things you've said and done about Trump. I still get people, you pedophile, you support Donald Trump. There is no evidence, and he's a rapist. Where's the conviction? You don't get to accuse somebody or say somebody's a rapist unless they've been accused. And I'm so sick of all of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It holds no water, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And that's why the people can keep perpetrating the lies, because if they had to actually sit there and look at themselves in the mirror and face what they did and continue to do, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah. The people that are stronger have to operate in humility and grace.
Yep.
And if there's that opportunity to reach out and say, you know what, legacy media lied to you. Like what
Yeah.
you thought was real was not real, and it's not your fault. It was the people that were trying to put you in that spot. It's their fault. They need to be held accountable. I
Well,
mean, if you can kind of displace what they went
yeah.
through,
Well,
and just give a bridge.
you and I make mistakes, and I that's when you notified me and said, "You're doing this and this, and you ain't got this right." And I was going, and I didn't get all pissy with you. I went,
Yeah,
"Oh,
no,
okay, well, let me here. I didn't know
no,
that."
no. I had to go through all your stuff, man. I had to watch all your videos and check out all your posts. I like went on like multiple platforms, and I'm
Because
like,
Steve
I need
heard
to,
that
and
heard
then I'm
people
just like,
saying
I'm a jerk.
he heard people say, but then you heard people saying that I was saying things that I wasn't saying, and
Yeah,
you were
I'm
decent
I'm
enough to
better
go
than
look at
that.
my podcast and go, Rick didn't say that, but I did make some mistakes. But look, here we are having this conversation, and nobody
Yeah,
died.
yeah. There you
You
go.
know, now you did
Yeah.
learn that I tend to be weather racist, but I'm a weather racist. I'm gonna go
We
have
don't
to.
we don't talk about
I'm
snow
gonna go home and
around
have a beer and figure this out. I like white snow better than other colored snow. Oh my
Oh
god.
man, well they're gonna start saying that you got hunter powder and all that stuff. So
Hey, Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And
yes,
I
sir.
mean, we went from informing the community about what's going on with this situation to outdoor male urinals to tampons in the bathroom
Yep.
to I mean we've done we have provided an excellent service for the viewers today.
Yeah. Well, and my one message to people that like don't understand what's going on and see something that happens in your school district or whatever district, go to public comment. That's your opportunity. If there's something really wrong happening in your community, go to public comment and address it. And if you have some good board members, they'll say, "Hey, I'll stay after this meeting and let's like talk about this a little further, and we'll figure out how we can fix this."
All right.
So, yeah.
Steve, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
And remember, viewers, if you have small children at 35, take a 3-minute break because there's a couple of F words there. But it's just
Usually
an
I'm the one that's cussing too much.
hey, we'll see you later, man.
All right, brother. Thank you.
The other thing you guys could do is ask questions. So when you go to the school board or you go to the meetings and you have that little chip on your shoulder, is remove it and go in. And I would love it if I try to train people on my page, train people, there I am. Now I'm that guy. And I try to train people, don't you come on and say, you racist, you're this, instead of asking questions. Rick, are you a racist? I don't think so. No. Why? What did I say that you think was racist? Bring up questions. Go to the school board and say, why is this happening and what are you doing about it? And but don't accuse people of something. Anyway, it's just it's gonna get better. But I tend to be a pretty spiritually aware kind of guy. I always have been. And I listen to a lot of people who are starting to think and say the same things that I believe. It's going to get a little darker before we get to that lighter spot. So you have to know what you believe and who you are. Because if you don't, culture will tell you what they want you to think you are. And culture is a liar. So don't let anybody tell you your value, that you don't matter, that your opinions are dumb, that you're stupid. No. The reason we live in this country is because we are free to say what we believe, even if we're wrong. So I may be critical of some of the far, far left because I think they know they're wrong and they're leading people the wrong direction for a devious purpose. But they have the right to do that. But you know what? You and I have the right to fight them, not physically. I'm not calling that. I'm saying, but you know what? Shoot it down. Say no. It's not what it is. Yeah, Mandy, Oregon laws are dictated by larger communities. And but we're working on that. We got some ideas. There's always trouble. See you guys later. Hey, thank you. I don't work on Friday, so I have the weekend off. Share this on your page so that other people can see it, even if it pisses them off. Okay. See you later. Bye.